Hello and welcome to my channel, I Win to Lose Gaming. This video is brought to you by today's sponsor, War Thunder, with some early access information about a Nefer out in the wild, such as, well, my own video, so go check that out if you haven't already. I thought it'd be fun to speculate what characters like Colombina, Flynn's, and many others could do in combat, and to take a look at the potential future meta for Nod-Krai. Now you might see this video as potentially sus, but I promise you I'm not trying to stir the lion's den here with any leaks or anything like that. There's plenty of official information out there already to make educated guesses, and Hoyoverse has had a clear pattern with their releases, with many release syndromes, as I'll be calling them, throughout. Now I will go through what I think about most of the 11 revealed characters along with 3 bonus characters at the end. Hoyoverse has had a history of releasing characters that kind of foreshadow the meta prior to the new version. For example, Kazuha's release in version 1.6 fit perfectly with the cryo and electro powerhouses that dominated the Inazuma meta. I will also say that version 2.x to 3.0 was probably the most inconsistent in terms of foreshadowing, but we can see that Yaimiko, Yelan, and especially Kuki all ended up being fantastic with Dendro, with also, I guess, Kami Boba Ayato being okay with Dendro. Sumeru to Fontaine was interesting because we didn't actually get a new 5-star character in the final version 3.7, but Baizhu was released in version 3.6, who ended up being best in slot for Neuvillette teams, at least for a while. But Baizhu definitely heavily foreshadowed the healer-heavy meta that we got into thanks to Furina's debut. Meanwhile, version 4.8's Emily was the most obvious one, who was literally designed for burning teams, and well, we got Knish right after her. Now with a Nefer's release in version 5.8, and her being even more blatantly obvious being a Lunar charge sub-DPS character, we can make many educated assumptions for what Nod-Krai's meta could look like. But it is all based on Hoyoverse's history of releasing characters, the official information out there, as well as just some plain old common sense. Also, it'll be funny to see just how wrong or right this video could end up being in the future. Now heads up, I am treating the Genshin Wiki as official information because they do not cover leaks, so they likely grabbed the information from somewhere credible. Now before continuing to our first character, Flynn's, I did want to talk about the perfect pair syndrome. The perfect pair syndrome has been a common release pattern for Hoyoverse, releasing 2 5-star characters who synergize extremely well, if not perfectly, with each other. I'd argue this began all the way back with Ayaka and Shenhe, where the two of them were clearly designed for each other and with each other in mind. There are arguably some in Sumeru, but I don't want to talk about all the less obvious perfect pairs and instead jump to the next blatant perfect pair, Neuvillette plus Furina. Both in lore and in game, these two were designed to be 2 peas in a pod. But I'm not gonna lie, what pissed me off about this perfect pair was that they pay-gated the perfect pair part behind Neuvillette's Constellation 1. And Fontaine actually continued this terrible design trend with Navia plus Chiori, where you needed Chiori's Constellation 1 for her to be the perfect pair teammate for Navia. Okay, thankfully, they stopped this after Fontaine, with Emily plus Knish, Mavuika plus Sitlali, and Skirk plus Escoffier, where you, unfortunately, at least don't need any constellations for them to be the perfect pairs for each other. So yeah, some of the upcoming characters will be based off of the perfect pair syndrome, which is the perfect segue to talk about the first new character on this list, likely suffering from the perfect pair syndrome, Flynn's. Now that we're reaching Genshin's endgame, it looks like tanks and heavy artillery might be next. Mavuika is already using a motorcycle, so maybe it's only a matter of time before we're rolling out with tanks, just like today's sponsor, War Thunder. War Thunder is the most comprehensive combat vehicle battle game I've seen and is available now for free on PC, consoles, and mobile devices. With over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships from 10 major nations ranging from the 1920s to modern vehicles, everything in War Thunder is intricately modeled down to each individual components. Engines, fuel tanks, weapons, and crew, watch it all explode in full view. What other game lets you watch the internal damage of a German Panther G crew getting absolutely decimated by a 17-pounder APDS round? RIP Hans, Henrik, and Fritz. That X-ray view isn't just for mourning the boys, it's for strategically targeting specific components to truly appreciate vehicle-on-vehicle penetration. And War Thunder has also penetrated mobile devices. It's fully optimized for iOS and Android with smooth controls, great graphics, all on the go. And with 3 distinctive game modes for every type of gamer. There's arcade mode for some fast lead pumping action, simulator mode for the ultimate challenge, and realistic mode which is somewhere in between. And yes, if Genshin won't let you dress your waifus, well, my favorite part of War Thunder is that it lets you dress up your tank waifus with historical camos, decals, and community-made cosmetics like waifus. 70 million players can't be wrong. With full mouse, keyboard controller, and mobile support and insane optimization, War Thunder is perfect for fans of military history and just blowing shit up. Play War Thunder for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or mobile devices now by using my links in the pinned comment or video description. New and returning players on PC and consoles that haven't played in the last 6 months will also receive a massive bonus pack across all platforms that includes multiple premium vehicles, the exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 silver lions, and 7 days of premium account. It's available for a limited time only, so be quick. Him supposedly being an Electro character and looking like a main DPS character, if I had to take a gander, I would say he is going to be based on the Lunar charged reaction, and thus is likely suffering from the perfect pair syndrome with a Nefer. A Nefer transforms the Electro charged reaction to Lunar charged, and hopefully this Lunar mechanic will be a key mechanic in Nod-Krai, basically altering existing reactions in an interesting and fun way by italicizing text and making it gradient to spice up the variety and gameplay for Genshin Impact. Flynn's, according to the Genshin Wiki, is an Electro character and from the Lightkeepers faction, meaning that he likely originates from Nod-Krai, which also means that he will probably tie into some sort of Lunar mechanic. Nefer's kit providing 14% increase to Lunar charged base multiplier, as well as her signature weapon providing another 40% damage to Lunar charged, if I had to guess, is very likely designed to support a Lunar charged DPS, like potentially Flynn's. And Flynn's, out of all the characters revealed during the trailer, fits the bill more so than any other character. Another fun detail we can potentially extrapolate from all of this is that Flynn's, like almost every single other 5-star male DPS, except for Constellation 1 Neuvillette off the top of my head, will have piss poor interrupt resistance, and this is also where a Nefer's shield is likely very helpful. The next character is also based on a Nefer, and that is that we are missing a core component for a Nefer, and that is a Hydro character that can synergize well with her. Interestingly, up to this point, every Hydro support, in terms of the damage boosts that are built into their kit, have had an extremely disproportionate focus on the bonus damage multiplier. Furina, Mona, Yelan, heck, even Candace all affect the bonus damage multiplier, which is completely ignored by the Lunar charged damage. As such, none of the current Hydro characters are great for a Nefer, which brings us to the marionette herself, Colombina. While we don't have official confirmation yet that Colombina is Hydro, we can make a pretty decent educated guess that she is, given her literal Hydro high heels. You don't just water bend Hydro high heels without being a Hydro character, in my opinion. As such, if Colombina is going to be Hydro, and given her very likely huge importance in the story, literally Archon level, given that the statues in Nod-Krai appear to have her in it, and they're calling these the idol of the new moon statues, likely meaning that they're attempting to turn Colombina into a new moon goddess or something. Anyway, similar to how the meta has revolved around the previous Archons for their respective regions, we could very well see Hydro being the central element behind Lunar-based reactions. As such, my assumption is that Colombina looks to be coming for Furina's job, who, FYI, the expiration date for Archons tends to be roughly around 2 years in my opinion, but that's a topic for another day. Anyway, Colombina could be a Hydro applier that can somehow amplify Hydro-related Lunar charged reactions. Personally, I'd like to see her enable these Lunar charged reactions and provide a substantial relevant buff, like for example, in my opinion most fitting for her, Elemental Mastery, or I guess it could be crit or heck even Resistance Shred, as those are the main variables that Lunar charged scales off of, and if the other Lunar reaction is going to be similar to Lunar charged, then yeah. This way she'll be best in slot for most Lunar-based Nod-Krai teams, while also potentially being good for older characters without directly power creeping, fan favorites like Furina. Anyway, Hoyoverse tends to be very creative with their implementation of roles like this, so I personally can't wait to see what Lunar see that Colombina will unleash. And now that I point out lunacy, she kind of reminds me of Rei-Sin from Toho with all the kind of red lunacy themes. Anyway, the next character is Llama, who appears to be dendro and also is from Nod-Krai, and thus will likely interact with the lunar mechanic. She's also strongly giving me support slash, off-field vibes, with her trying to summon something and accidentally spam calling Flynn's.
Now, be gone.
Now, while I personally would love to see something like Rhymegrass be introduced, buffing Cryo and Dendro, unfortunately, this reaction wasn't called Lunar Grass, so chances of that are unlikely. And given the potential Hydro-focused meta with Colombina's implications, and Llama also being from Nod-Krai, so she'll likely tie into Colombina, Hydro plus Dendro makes Bloom, and Llama could focus on Lunar Bloom. If Lunar Bloom ends up working similarly to how Lunar Charged works, this could mean giving Bloom the potential to crit, while ironically potentially just being a side grade like how Lunar Charged is for Electro Charged, but with her own kit pushing the base Lunar Bloom reaction to be better than just a side grade for Bloom. I also wonder if this could be a Nilo renaissance at this rate. Nilo has multiple moon-related themes in her design and kit, with her story arc also taking place during the whole Dreams arc thing with moons or whatever and stuff like that, her color palette, whatever. Or heck, maybe Llama could just crank up the performance of Hyperbloom or Burgeon. But I digress. Honestly, the more I talk about this, the more it seems like Hydro is Hoyoverse's favorite child, as we might end up with 3 Hydro Archon level playable characters, while Geo and Physical are just completely forgotten. But yeah, while I would personally like to see Lunar Rhymegrass or Lunar Quicken or something, we'll just have to wait and see. And this is the perfect segue to talk about Nefer, who apparently is confirmed to be Dendro, and I guess I just couldn't find it in the trailer, but Nefer is an interesting character because design-wise, she looks like she could hail from Sumeru, being Egyptian-themed. This could mean that she herself does not enable lunar reactions. Regardless, my gut instinct is that this could be the long-awaited revisiting of the Dendro element as a whole, with Llama as well as Nefer, who could potentially work quite well together, given the increasing frequency of the perfect pair syndrome since Fontaine. Also, this could tie into a newer syndrome, which I will call the necromancer syndrome, where we revive old dying playstyles that are in desperate need of a facelift, like for example Escoffier for freeze teams, and perhaps now Llama and Nefer for Dendro. As for Nefer herself, she looks like she could be honestly anything in terms of her role, but I do think she looks like she'll actually do damage, given her sharp ouchie inducing design aspects and claws, and honestly though, your guess is probably better than mine when it comes to her. The next character we have a confirmed element for is Varka.
I came here for the moon.
Who is confirmed to be Animo of all elements. Now before we talk about Varka, I need to talk about the sore thumb syndrome. The sore thumb syndrome is when these characters don't tie directly to the main Archon's meta, and well, that's why they stick out like a sore thumb. Examples of these characters are Ito, who has no interest in the Electro element, Wander, who wants nothing to do with Dendro, and Arlecchino, who literally tried to murder Furina and can't even be healed, and Skirk, who is allergic to Natlin teammates. These are all perfect examples of the sore thumb syndrome. Varka, being a literal outsider and also from Mondstadt, stands out to me as a sore thumb syndrome type of character. And look, I'm not gonna lie, given his extremely close ties and being a mentor figure for Eula, Mika, and Razor, I fully expected him to be a physical DPS character. And let's be real, Animo would be an extremely weird element for this purpose. Also, his signature weapon being the Wolf's Gravestone is even weirder because, let's be real, Hoyoverse wants to make money and having it be the Wolf's Gravestone won't do that for them. Personally, I'm hoping he is not here just to take Wander's and Xiao's jobs as an on-field Animo main DPS who needs Farazan, but hey, what the heck do I know? Regardless, I will be pulling for him because he just looks so goddamn good. Now at this point, we're reaching the last character for reasonable speculation, being Alice, who is the last character with a confirmed element, being Pyro. Alice is a really fascinating character, and we've had some glimpses into her personality. Alice is frankly a troll, and being a confirmed pyro character who is the mother of a small child that can blow up a mountain, I have high expectations for Alice. Now, do we really need another main pyro DPS character? I mean, I guess Hoyoverse says yes since we've got so many, but I'm hoping for them to take Alice into a unique direction. Given Alice's odd alliances as well as origins, and her being part of the Hexenzirkel faction, Alice should be a character to take the meta into new heights, in my opinion, but in a different way. Personally, given her trollish personality, I would love for her playstyle to incorporate that as well. What I would love to see is some sort of Pyro Eula, but on steroids. For example, making her a character who prioritizes a massive Pyro nuke would not only make her very distinct from other Pyro characters like Mavuika and Arlecchino, it would also give her, well, a completely different role as well. Now, I'm going to fanfiction her kit more so than the other characters, but I would love to see her, for example, apply a mark or cast her elemental burst, and if you stay on field, she'll just keep attacking the enemy with little Dodocos, giving her the ability to, be an on-field main DPS character, perhaps on the level of Yoimiya. However, alternatively, you could, for example, swap her off, and if you keep her off-field for long enough, or perhaps the longer the more damage, then when she comes back on, she will deal a single massive Dodoco nuke to just deal a single instance of giant meltable pyro damage. This would give free-to-play some hilarious damage per screenshots, while also having her live up to her troll nature and still maintaining major differences between her and the other Pyro DPS characters. Because yeah, the last thing we need is another sustained on-field Pyro DPS character directly power creeping the previous ones, at least in my opinion. Alright, I also think that Alice will suffer from the sore thumb syndrome, since she's, well, not from Mondstadt, and she will also likely suffer from the perfect pair syndrome, which is the perfect segue to talk about her fellow Hexenzirkel witch, Nicole. I can totally see Nicole and Alice working really well together, so if I were to make Nicole work well with Alice, Cryo seems like an element that would make a lot of sense. Granted, this is a lot of overlap with Sitlali to enable a single giant melt, and since we have no confirmation of her element, I'm just gonna stop speculating at this point. And this brings us to the remaining characters, with only Ayano being one that I have anything to really say about. Ayano strongly resembles Kachina, Collet, and to a lesser extent Lynette, being the approachable yet mentorable and likely free 4-star character that we've been getting since Sumeru. If I had to guess, like the other three, she'll probably be useful for tackling puzzles and perhaps providing everyone an introduction to the core Lunar mechanics coming in Nod-Krai. Alternatively, perhaps Jehoda could play that role, but yeah, it's really hard for me to say. And as for the other characters, like for example, Durin, Sandrome, Jehoda, or even Aino, there is one more role that I feel like should be introduced in Nod-Krai, and it is also foreshadowed by a Nefer, plus, a lunar charged on-field main DPS like Flynn's. And that is the potential need for a full team attack buffer. While we do have Bennett, and now Eon-san, to buff the on-field attacker, this leaves a Nefer's off-field damage to be comparatively lacking. So hopefully we'll see like a Bennett-like character, who should take some more field time than Bennett, so that way it's not just, directly power creeping Bennett, that can provide that full team attack buff to also benefit characters like a Nefer, and other potential perfect pair syndrome characters like, Alice and Nicole. Finally, we even have Albedo and Wanderer wandering into the trailer, and personally, I would love it if Genshin finally started buffing older characters, like Hoyoverse has been doing in Zenless Zone Zero and Honkai Star Rail, and these characters would be perfect candidates for buffs as they venture into Nod-Krai with us. And finally, we have likely around 6 more characters to be revealed in Nod-Krai that could frankly just change everything. Since we've had, I believe, 17 new characters released in both Fontaine as well as Natlin, we're likely missing many playable characters for Nod-Krai. Personally, I think it'll be quite funny to see how poorly this video ages like milk by the time Nod-Krai is over, but I found it fun to speculate based on what information we have available. If you found this video fun, interesting, or insightful in any way, let me know down in the comments below. And also don't forget to check out War Thunder now for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or mobile devices. Use my links in the pinned comment or video description, and new players and those who haven't played in 6 months will also receive a massive bonus pack on PC or consoles that includes multiple premium vehicles, the exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 silver lions, and 7 days of premium account. Huge thanks to War Thunder for sponsoring today's video. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Win to Lose, signing out.